Welcome to Philly Coco Presents Side Project Spotlight, episode 43. This is the developer's journey into making cool stuff. I'm Kotaro.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are Philly Coco, a Philadelphia-based Coco Heads community focused on Apple development that primarily, but not exclusively, means iOS, Mac, tvOS, and watchOS development. Philly Coco's true desire is to take you higher on your own developer journey. Whew, did not screw up this time.
I'm amazed.
Oh,
no guest to throw you off your game.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, so today we were supposed to have a special guest. Hopefully we will have the guest next episode, but there was a last-minute change of plans. However, the topic remains the same, just with us, though, and that will be our annual, I guess, is this annual? Do we do this?
Annual?
Do we podcast long enough to do this last year?
Maybe. Dude, we did a prediction. We did a
We're going to make it
podcast.
annual, if it's not already. Annual WWDC, preview predictions, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So this is if you're listening to this when it's released a little bit earlier than usual, so you have a chance to listen to us make completely unsupported predictions about what's going to come out on Monday, and then you can have a good laugh while the keynote is going on and how wrong we are.
Yes.
Or you could do it in the Philly Coca Slack, because we're going to be in the Slack watching it.
Hopefully
probably
we'll have
like virtually together virtually.
You're gonna have the bingo game going?
Yeah, I'm going to make the bingo game. I got to finish that.
Yeah.
We have to make new cards.
Yep. That should be fun. I
We
think...
we're soliciting on the Slack, so if you have any more ideas, go on there.
Yes, join our Philly Coco Slack. You can find links at our website, phillycoco.org.
Yeah, like that kind of thing in the future.
Yep. So how should we start? Where do we want to go? So WWDC is coming up starting in June 5th. So
and that's like a little more than a week from when we're recording here.
Right, and fundamentally on Monday, it's on a Monday, right? In the case, as always the case these days, it's virtual, and so they stream it, the keynote and the state and all of them. But the ones to care about from a sort of press and consumer point of view is the keynote itself, and that happens like 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe, 10 a.m. Pacific
usually
time.
It's 10 a.m. Pacific time, right?
Right, and then. But the one that's more juicy for developers is the State of the Union, where they kind of reveal all the toys and APIs we get to play with for the next year to come.
I kind of think it's been separated. I think that used to be the case, but I think they do offer a lot of stuff in the keynote. It's just that it's like the State of the Union is the stuff that got cut, or they go into more detail. It seems to be a mix.
Yeah.
I think this year, the keynote, we'll talk about what it is, but I think the keynote's main event is going to be very much of interest to developers.
Well, it will be of interest to developers, but it will be kind of presented in like, this is like the iPhone or any other new product category. Yeah,
it'll be like presented. We'll talk about. Why are we being coy about it? We're talking about the headset. This is like the big thing that everybody thinks is coming out.
Yeah,
it's
the big smoke.
It's like a surprise. I don't know. Yeah, this podcast
like
will age
fire.
really poorly anyway. It's like this has a shelf life of 3 days or something when this releases.
This mythical XR. Is it? Are we assuming it's a mixed reality headset, or what?
Yeah, let's just get to the meat. Everybody cares about the headset. The headset / xrOS, which I think stands for extended reality, but I'm not sure if anybody said that yet.
Okay,
but I don't know. What do you think? Because it's an X, and like extended begins with an E, so it makes sense.
I don't know, but we'll wait and see.
Well, we'll see. But the headset
called something.
Something.
Now we've had this. You and Aaron, you and I have had this debate about whether or not it's going to be what are the technical possibilities of it being a mixed reality versus like practically. It's not practical in that sense, right? For that to work out.
Well, not if for anything other than being tied to your desk. I don't think like you can have like a pass-through camera, but I don't think they have any kind of semi-transparent lens tech where you could actually see stuff overlaid on a real image coming through directly through a lens rather than through a camera.
Right. Like, so I'm wondering, like, they would then that would imply like it's either like they have to do a full commit on one or the other with some level of like compromise. So like, for example, if you went full VR headset, you would still want to have a camera, pass-through camera that would be for like
then it would do something very
version.
similar to the current, iOS, like ARKit VR stuff, where you're looking at the camera feed on your phone screen, but this time it'll be right in front of your face. So I don't know how good that looks. I haven't actually used any headsets that use that type of system. I know there's a few on the market right now.
Right. I believe like the Quest has it. I don't know if it's HTC sort of thing. I know like the like there's been a lot of work that Apple's done in the past several years to sort of get us to this point, right? With ARKit, RealityKit, support for occlusion, support for just content creation for that space, whether it be Reality Composer, Reality Converter, USDZ support, just ancillary supports of like different Safari, just sort of like steeping the AR components into different parts of the product, whether it be like Safari having like support for USDZ files, and in other places that I can't think of offhand. But
yeah, that room plan API from last year was a big one.
Yeah. That's interesting, right? So like, and also like object detection, right? Like being finger index one is interesting to me because it's almost like
sorry, it was I thought you say fingered for a second there.
Oh, like, we're not that kind of podcast.
But adolescent mind started making me giggle.
Right. Well, so it'll know all the finger digits, right? It can recognize that. That
was actually very cool when that happened.
Right, or like the people, the people detection, as well as to be able to actually virtually rig a person's body, right, dynamically, to like know, like to basically superimpose. If you want to superimpose a 3D, take that generated rig and then superimpose it onto or embed it onto a 3D avatar, like you could do that, right? So there are opportunities. There are a lot of like subtle opportunities that they're implying. That I think are the tea leaves, so to speak, for this particular product, this goggle or whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, I don't know what are they going to call this? Apple marketing team must have.
We call it
overdrive.
Eye goggle.
Oh no more eyes. I'm not going to say eyes for anything. They only do that for iPhone and iOS.
Well, let's think about it, right? Like what their naming conventions nowadays are,
Apple,
right? They usually
Apple something usually.
Apple Watch,
because I think they would have renamed the
TV.
iPad and the iPhone if it wasn't so like
so I guess you're right. They would call it like Apple.
Not glasses though. I don't think.
Glasses,
I mean,
right?
maybe, but I feel like they wouldn't because that's the ultimate end goal. But they could. I mean, it could be called. It's not going to be like Apple ski goggles or something,
Getslopes.com. There you go. I mean, this has to be like they had to have, like, Curtis has to know something, right? Like they have to.
We're just going to speculate. Hey, we're going to just.
I'm speculating. I'm like, this is like. Well, this whole podcast is speculation.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're just going to speculate about what Curtis knows.
Or if you're serious about using them actually for skiing, then they have to have like transparent lenses. And I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I would be surprised if they actually have that, but it would be cool.
I don't think so.
Actually,
I was reading the latest rumors, and they did not say anything about that. They do keep saying this rumor, which seems so goofy to me, that there's some kind of screen on the outside to show quote unquote facial expressions. And I'm just thinking, like, half your face is below the goggles, right? I mean, are they? Is it like
you
a
have
giant
virtual
eyes?
I don't know how it works. You can get your anime's eyes.
Okay,
it does sound goofy.
Maybe if that's real, then I am going to assume that Apple has figured out some way to make it not look goofy. But I mean, that's a tall order.
Well, remember when Apple Watch first came out, and they made this thing about the gestures being a big deal of like you.
And we kept sending each other our heartbeats.
we can send each other genital parts. That was like the default thing to send each other.
It was
It's literal TTP.
Yeah, the TTP was like 5 seconds. It was like as long as it took you to open the app.
And I was not like immune to that because I immediately was like, "Hey, Curtis."
Oh my God, I didn't have an Apple Watch, but I was there that night when you kept sending your heartbeat back and forth. It's like stop sending me your heartbeat.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
That died at like Gen 0 or whatever it was called. But like,
no, I thought it was still in there. It was in like the messages.
I mean, it was in there, but you know how Apple does it. They just
they don't advertise it so much anymore.
Yeah,
but
features.
So whatever they're going to call this thing. I don't know, man. It makes sense to say it's just about your desk, deskwear, but I don't think so. I think they're going to try to say it's at least to the level of like living room. Like,
well, yeah, that's
I don't think outside
the whole room plan thing. I feel like it's really big hint that this is locked to one room.
Yeah, like a room, but not like your desk per se.
Yeah.
But like move around. I think it's gonna be more like move around.
They're gonna keep people from like falling over their coffee table. Or
yeah. Exactly. It's gonna have. Yeah, what's it gonna do? It's just gonna like what is the room plan is gonna like maybe visualize it in your.
Yeah.
So you can see it. Yeah.
And so I think here's what's tough about this product, right? Like, as an AR product.
Yeah.
As an AR product, I can 100% see it great for vertical markets. And what I mean by that is like people who are standing all day. So if you're in a factory and you want to find a specific piece of inventory, right, but you don't want to have to like look everywhere, you would have some way to detect it, and you would have like an AR UI that would like point to where you need to go. Or I saw recently I don't know if it was like a TikTok video or some short video clip of like construction people that had the schematics laid out in AR of like where they would like properly layer their bricks and like precisely where the brick needs to be in AR view, so that you could just stick it in there and just add your cement and move and go on. And it was just a great way of like, and you can do complex brick layouts because you were confident that in theory you were confident that the AR overlay was accurate. I thought that was actually quite interesting.
Now,
like
I saw that video.
Yeah.
Is that real? That was real. That was a real AR thing. It wasn't just like a fake video.
That's a fair question.
Okay,
but I thought, but as a use case, I thought, oh, that's fascinating, right? Like that's useful.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So my question about this whole thing is like, what is the developer story for this? Like, what is the end user story? And Apple has to have something.
Yeah.
And some of the rumors are like that they are claiming that they do, but like, what is it gonna be? Like what? And then that will lead to, I think, another question, which is how are we supposed to actually evaluate and test this and develop for it over the summer?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the like all the examples that are demonstrated from like say Microsoft or Facebook, I'm sorry, Meta, is like you can get virtual extra monitors, right? So you can.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
That one.
How much
actually,
damn it!
Whatever, just like having a giant screen without having to have like a huge projector.
All right, fair.
Or a massive TV in your living room.
Yeah.
And
okay.
It would be like your entire wall. But the display have to be really high res for it to work.
Yeah. I would like to be able to look at my laptop and have more screens or anything. Virtual screens is a great use case for productivity work at your desk. But
but it's also the thing of like once it gets that big of how you're going to deal with that screen real estate, because it wouldn't be just like more desktop. It's just like the desktop
you have to do
system
the
gets absurd when it's
that
big.
I know, and it's not like Mac is great at the multiple desktop management now.
Well, now this is where Stage Manager.
What's the UI? What's the UI going to look like? I don't think even Stage Manager. I don't know that. On like
you could just grab it,
50-inch.
Do your
screen.
Do your you could do hundreds of screens and be like, do your best Tom Cruise impression, be like whoosh, just like. I don't know. You can't see it on video, but I mean on audio. But like you could just imagine yourself doing Tom Cruise gestures, and
by Tom Cruise you mean Minority Report.
Minority Report. Yeah.
How old is Minority Report? That is still a very useful movie.
Is it at a point where we'd be considered dating ourselves? We refer to Minority Report.
Like 20 years old.
We remember when it was new. That's how old we are.
Okay, fair.
But
I mean, I remember how
great.
cool hackers were. So if you want to,
now we're dated. But
now we're dated.
So we have this use cases for this of productivity with the monitors, gaming obviously of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And like, is that going to be it? Is that the main thing? That can't be the main thing.
Creating and visualizing stuff in 3D.
That's what we talked about.
Like walk around it instead of just kind of spinning it in space in front of you.
Yeah. So I think as a content, quote unquote content creator type, I mean, if you are a content creator type, I think one of the things you could say you can use it for is create. I wouldn't say virtual experiences, but I would say
you can like walk through your virtual environments to a point, because I guess there's only so much you can actually walk in one room. But
or like if, for example, if you're trying to build the space, but you need a much more like you want to see it in a different context, right? Like I think that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So like if you want to paint your environment, like a 3D environment, is a lot of you rotating around in this space. You putting like, okay, here's a building here, here's some trees here, here's some, like if you could just do that as a paintbrush kind of, like you would have tools almost like a paintbrush, and you could just paint it on there. That's one of the interesting things I've noticed about artists that use that space. It's much more about creating, being able to create 3D in sort of a be in that space to actually create the space, if that makes sense.
So artistic content creation could be big too. We keep thinking in very practical, like businessy terms, but it could be great for artists as a new.
That's what I feel like the best use case of it for any kind of thing that's like tethered to one room.
Yeah. So one room would be, to me, that is like, as you said, manipulating 3D objects, building stuff like that, games, including like very energetic exercise-based games, because it'll apparently warn you where your coffee table is or something, or show it to you so you don't step on it. And I don't know if it's gonna have like any kind of controllers though. That's a question I don't think I've seen anywhere, because it's not necessarily for games, but I think they'll focus on games, because you said you were telling me that who's coming to this.
There was a rumor that Hideo Kojima, who made games like the Metal Gear Solid series and Death Stranding, if you know those series, he's kind of like known for being
Death Stranding that walking simulator game.
Yeah. But he's kind of known for like creating these sort of absurd concepts what comes off as absurd concepts, right? So he's like an auteur game. So imagine if you were Christopher Nolan's and you were a game developer. That's kind of in him in kind of like a broad strokes.
Nice.
He's much more of a type of person that enjoys sort of this like auteur kind of approach to games. I mean, I think sometimes he's more of a filmmaker trying to be a game developer, but he's using game development medium as a way to express. So he kind of likes to break fourth walls in various different ways. That doesn't necessarily break the fourth wall, but forces you to experience it not force you, but like lets you experience a game in a much more visceral manner, so like meaningful manner. So the great thing about like I can imagine, I remember one scene where like you could have a choice, because you're in full control of a character to kill another character. It doesn't give you that option to escape that like you could like not, you could try not to shoot this person, but it won't let you. Like the only option you have is to shoot this person, and it's not so much like mechanically that's a complicated thing to do, but it forces you to experience that feeling of like you made that choice. Like it forced you to make that choice. And I know like people would argue that point, but like it's meant to give you experiences like, he's known for giving you like experiences like that are just like, that gives you an opportunity to experience things in a unique way. And I think with one of the things I realized about VR specifically when I've used it in the past, or I played around with it in the past, it's very like games by himself, because you are in control. There's a sense of empathy that you just can't get with like movies or any other passive mediums. Versus and now VR is like almost like a full on extension of that experience of just like having like a visceral, like, I am this character, and I'm living this character's experience. And I don't think I've ever gotten that with any other platform that I can offhand think of. Like, I know, like, when I'm in the VR space, I'm in that world. Like, assuming that you you properly put on your goggles.
Yeah.
But it just feels like you are in that world, and you're, even though your body's like, even though your body's saying you're fine, like your mind's like, I don't know, like I feel like I'm like in this world, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of direct experience using the VR headset, so like, I haven't owned a Quest or anything like that. So I don't know what that's like, but it sounds fun.
So, Coda, are we going to get anything more than a trailer for this hypothetical Kojima game?
Oh yeah, you're getting a nice autistic trailer, assuming that this rumor is true. Yeah. Like, he's all about like big splashy like trailers. Like, if there was ever an opportunity to show off a brand new game,
look, it's going to be it'll be Death Stranding, where you literally walk, or knowing him, because he had wanted to do a horror game. I don't know if you ever remember the game called PT. It was like a preview game for the next Silent Hill game. You can YouTube PT reactions on about physical therapy and how scary it can be.
I mean, we all joked about it, but it was actually I forgot. They never said what the acronym stood for. I mean, people said it was like preview tech or something like that. But the point was like you just go through a hallway, and then you enter a hallway and you just walk through the hallway, and then it's like an L-shaped hallway, and then you go down the basement doors, and then you're back into the same hallway. You open up the door and you're back in the same hallway, and it just loops. But every time you go through this hallway, something changes just slightly. And it just gets weirder and weirder as things, and then like a story unfolds, and it's just creepy. Now, to play that in VR, I would literally pee my pants. I wouldn't be able to control myself. It literally is that scary.
Everybody send Culturo the adult diapers he needs when this comes out.
That's all I wear now. Thanks to that.
That's all you wear now. With that old.
That's thanks to that game. It's just accelerated me to that state. But yeah,
that sounds really cool though. I remember when the Wii U came out, and I never owned one, but I remember one of the use cases being, this demo of like a horror game, and the whole thing was trying to be more immersive by making it look down at the console, so you didn't know what was happening. When you look back up again, it would, like the monsters would be there, and that was pretty, obviously primitive kind of immersion compared to what you can get with some kind of Apple goggles or whatever they're gonna call it.
I mean, the again, like I think Resident Evil 7 and 8, I think are, and now the remake 4 is now going to be in VR. So, I mean, those games scared the bejesus out of me, and I just have no desire to play them in VR.
What do you use as a controller for games for this? Because like, again, no one said that. What?
Just a regular PS or Xbox controller.
So you think they'll just be like, oh, just pick up whatever you have. We're not going to do anything. Like, because the Quests have like special controllers, right? But is that to track hand movement and don't have buttons on them?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I guess that's where I feel like the index detection, the finger index.
Yeah, I feel
detection,
like they're not going to do that. I don't think you're going to need anything to interact with stuff. You're just going to use your hands.
But the challenge is like there's no tactile feel when you're just doing like crazy hand gestures in the air, right? Like you're not getting a
but you look even more silly than when using a Quest. So it'll be even more memeable.
I agree.
Can you imagine me?
I mean, it feels like it would require a special type of game, and the tough part about games, at least is you do somewhat need like some level of haptic feedback
Do you get haptic feedback on the Quest? Because you can see my ignorance of this, how the Quest works, or these.
Well, they have like they're like imagine like those Switch controllers, but like detached.
Okay, yeah. So you get
more
some
complicated versions of that.
Stuff.
So you get some feedback and you get some level of like I think your index and your what's the middle finger, and then the thumbs are like the key fingers that you use that gets replicated.
So
again,
I think what you need though is you need a left-hand iPhone and a right-hand iPhone.
We already have a watch on one wrist.
Yeah, one watch per wrist
for Apple.
So David Smith will be
you need an AirPod, an Air Max. You need a watch.
You need a watch in each hand.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that's where I sort of
watch on each wrist.
Yeah, each wrist. Yeah, like, and if you're doing watch development this year, that's what you probably will be doing anyway, because you are going to put a test watch on one wrist and regular watch on the other one.
So I feel like games are, but the problem with games is like, or any of those sort of like tremendous amounts of like immersive kind of experiences is like it's exhausting. Like 2 hours in, and then you take it off. It's like, you see light shining in your eyes. It's like, oh, what's like? It's very disorienting to like switch off.
Maybe they'll have screen time will be updated with a go and touch grass mode. Like it's time to touch grass. Go outside and take it off.
I don't know how that's going to work, because especially like you take it off, like somebody like, hey, take this off. Or, like,
so one of the things about this is the emphasis on having cameras that give you like the external world, so you can kind of do the pass-through mode. So maybe a lot of it will be focused on that, or in some way, either bringing in, as you said, like a scan of the environment into it, or literally doing a pass-through mode, like maybe a higher resolution version of it than you've seen in other products before. So they try to ease your transition, maybe. Maybe there'll be like a whole sequence where you're eased back to reality, and it like kind of maybe comes in slowly, like fades in, and then you're like, okay, and now you're just taking it off, and you're just, it's not as much of a jarring change. I could imagine Apple thinking through these kinds of transitional states.
Yeah, I just think that it's human nature to be impatient. Yeah, so you're just going to take it off, right?
You're just going to go for the jarring jolt back to reality.
Yeah, it's like, oh. It's like a slap in the face, like
but I mean, reality. These are questions that must have come up during development, and are questions that, as a developer, you're going to need to think about. Because if you're getting really immersive, as you said, and then you need to exit that immersion, it could be more or less jarring depending on the type of software you're using at the time.
I mean, here's the thing that I struggle with a lot, like sometimes, like when people go all in on these techs, right? I feel like it's always looking for the focus is looking for the next, gold rush or whatever. So like, when we talk about money. Like I know, but like you talk about like a company like Meta that was really all in last year?
Yeah, it's like a year ago
of like going into this metaverse, and I never got a sense of like there was nobody that sat them down and be like, look, this is crap, or like there are all these things that are just not great about this experience.
Well, it's because that was Zuckerberg's thing, right? That was like his he pushed it, I think.
But a lot of it spoke to like somebody that didn't even know how games are made, or
I mean that whole intro video spoke to like a level of ignorance of people and how this stuff works. That was one of the most cringe-inducing like intro videos I've ever seen, that Meta one.
I mean, but, I was okay. I was okay with it, but I just felt like it didn't feel it didn't feel like very well, like it was almost like it was like a paper napkin kind of thing where it's like, this is gonna work, and it's like and they played with it and to a point where like they didn't think too deeply about like what do normal people
that's what I mean. It did not feel like normal people, like they're like, this is how normal, quote unquote normal people would use this, like people who are not immersed in technology and software development and stuff like that. So
I mean,
because it was like, I can't imagine, like, most people I know who are in technology doing the things in that video. Like, I'm just going to go to my virtual mirror and pick a costume for my avatar. Now I can imagine kids doing that because they're, they can get really into the games and stuff. But like you're trying to sell it to the adults first, right? So
well, now you're trying to sell it to rich adults if the rumors are true.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought that was weird.
Disposable income.
Yeah. Who does have disposable income now?
I mean, rumors is what it's like. The rumors was originally like $3,000 for the goggles, and now the rumors
which was rumored to be cost, not highly profitable, like basically covering expenses for development and marketing and plus and everything.
Now the rumor is like $2,400.
It's going to be a low volume product, I think. I mean, that doesn't mean it won't immediately sell out or whatever, but I think it's going to be low volume at first. I don't even think Apple expects it to be a big success right out the gate. But who knows?
No.
Oh, but here's a question. So, we have games, we have like productivity stuff we can do in here or whatever. How are we going to actually build this stuff? So I was wondering about this. In the past, they've done Apple's done different things with the SDKs, including hardware. Like with the Apple Silicon, you had the SDK, right? It was like physical hardware you could get. So are they going to do something like that? Like, or is it going to be reliant upon you doing things and like Reality Composer and like using an iPad maybe to do the visualization experience? Because I don't know. Because if this thing is really as unique as you would think it would have to be, can you adequately develop without the actual hardware? Like, what do you guys think? You guys have way more experience using these headsets. Can you actually develop good software for them without actually having one? And if the answer is no, does that mean that developers will have really, really early access in the summer to some kind of prototype?
It depends if you're just trying to like run some kind of game that is like already a VR game. It's like, I'll run it on some other hardware or just kind of simulate it on your flat screen on your desktop. But if it's like going to be some unique experience of some new kind of interface that only really works in like an immersive environment, I don't think you'll be able to do it without the hardware.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, because I'm like Apple's going to want people. So let's assume that this will come out for the public consumption maybe by the holidays. Mm-hmm. That's still a decent amount of time, but you need to have it in your hands to do development. So are they going to announce it and be like, well, you can't actually get it at all until the holidays, or you can't get it until like September, or maybe we'll have SDKs. I think they're going to have some way for developers to get it. Like maybe you have to put down $3,000. Maybe it's refundable, but you have to like do that, and then we'll have an SDK, which is like some early prototype version of this or something like that. Because I just don't see, because they're going to want developers to make innovative apps. They're going to want them to explore the space and the possibilities, because I think they're relying upon that to be a selling point when it comes out in the public.
That honestly would make a lot of sense. I don't know, Aaron.
Yeah, they probably have a handful of people already building stuff with it.
Yeah, it could just be those, but that's true. But then why, if you're going to make a big splash at WWDC, you have to give everybody else a chance.
Yeah, I don't know what the timeline is for that.
But it's going to be
everybody's going to get one under their seat.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. Well, I mean, maybe for some of the people who are there in person.
That would be amazing.
That would be like
when I remember, was it Apple TV was like one of them where we got like free dev kits that ultimately were the final product, but that's nice. That was nice.
But
I tried to do
you're probably going to have to fill out an application or whatever it was like with the M1 dev kits.
And I think there might be a limited supply. So that's why I think they might charge some like refundable or not like a large amount of money just to make sure you're serious.
Yeah, I mean, that would make 100% sense. The other challenge about it is even if you develop the development environment, if it's strictly from Apple, is quite limited in a variety of ways, because when you're making 3D content, there's a reason why people do their work in Unreal or Unity or any of the sort of third-party application development environments, because Apple's, for lack of a better word, it's just not up to snuff. I mean, it's just doesn't have the basic game developer tools that you need to make a good game.
And we're talking here about maybe game development methodologies and tooling being much more important for any kind of application in something like this, right? So do you think that the developer tools, I mean, I think they're going to obviously do some kind of update to them. And what kind of update do you want to see from the developer tooling to make it easier, not just for games, but for any kind of development on this new theoretical platform?
I mean,
having
that's
the
the
most
challenge.
experience with Unity, I think, of the three of us.
I mean, I'm almost surprised, but not surprised. Apple hasn't bought Unity outright because they could easily buy Unity.
I know they had that's the word C#. I don't think they want to do that.
I mean, that's the problem is that they're not going to do it because it's C#. Or I doubt they would do it. Yeah, and then on top of that, like because Unity is generally the platform that most indie and mobile game developers primarily use.
Well, I think they'll be able to continue using it to develop games. But what is the native tooling from Apple going to look like for this?
Xcode on goggles.
Yes, here we go. We'll get that before we'll get Xcode on iPad.
So I heard an interesting rumor was like the way Apple viewed apps in the XR world, or whatever the AR is, we would actually push these apps. We create these apps in some form or fashion using Reality Composer.
Yeah, but that's like a limited tool, right? Like I've used it a little. Tool. Okay, it's not just my impression thing. Because I use it a little bit, and I was like, this is very, very limited.
I mean, a really simple example is like if you wanted to take. So let's say you want to take a ball, a cube, and a sphere, and you wanted to like parent them so that you can group them basically, and then you can just move them together. There's no, at least from what I remember, there's no easy way to do that in Reality Composer. You actually have to do that in code.
Well, let's hope they update it then, because
right, like that's just a simple example, right?
Very simple.
There's no particular timeline system. I mean, there is, but it's very janky. It's not used in the way you traditionally would use a timeline interface. There's no support for state management of animations.
So what you're looking for is Reality Composer Pro.
There you go. With a subscription, $50 a year.
Yeah. Yes.
Look,
yes.
I mean, honestly, it's such a niche. I mean, at the moment, it's such a niche thing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that.
So,
yeah,
we're buying Unity and we're calling it Reality Composer Pro.
There you go.
There you go.
This new language it's a Swift variant called Swift pound
Swift
sign.
C#.
Swift C#. Yes.
Swift pound. Swift sharp. Swift sharp. Yeah, that'd be great. So I mean, I don't know. It's.
But some of the other rumored things might that are under development might be useful in this headset environment. So one of the things, dynamic widgets are rumored to be coming, which means some level of interactive widget support on there for certain things. And it sounded like when I was looking at the rumor, it was going to be simple controls and simple gestures, which also it seems to me like if I wanted to put some content into a virtual headset on a virtual space, and I'm using hand tracking, that I'm going to want to have simple gestures.
It'll be widgets all the way down.
Yeah,
everything's a widget.
Everything's a widget now. Yeah, it's by iOS like 19. It'll just be in.
No, I mean specifically for the this like xrOS, everything's going to be a widget. It's just going to be I
can see that.
A million widgets.
That makes sense.
Yeah, everything's a widget. Well, yeah, big dashboard of widgets. I don't know, but yeah, widgets.
And instead of a home screen or anything like that, it's just going to be a whole pile of widgets.
So it basically they're going to recreate the old what was it, the Microsoft like late Zune era UI,
tiles,
the tiles and stuff. That would be hilarious to me because I supported those things on the back end for a while with a Windows Phone, and the tiles, they're actually kind of cool. You could send like information to them, and they would display them and flip around and stuff. And a lot of people like them. So.
I mean, if you think about it from like Apple's point of view, right, or even a developer's point of view, like it's much easier to say, oh, I can take these widgets that I've already built, right, and with a few little modifications, I can just have them as an extension in my Google the XR goggles, right? Yeah. Like that's amazing.
And on the watch. the rumor
on
is
the
the watch
watch
is going to be revamped to be much more widget centric, right?
Right.
Or glanceable centric, and so that to me implies widgets.
I mean, this is where the true the true power of SwiftUI in that sense of being able to just modularly have these different experiences in these different so whether it be on the Mac, whether it be on your iPhone, whether it be like simple as you can have the same widget in all these environments, and you don't have to do too much to tweak them, from a lazy developer point of view.
Well, I mean,
you almost get that for free,
right? And SwiftUI's entire premise is that it's more declarative. You declare what you want to do, and the state that the state drives the user interface changes. But then the specific way it renders is platform specific, and SwiftUI handles that. And they may implement it under the scenes with UIKit on an iPhone, but they may do it completely differently on the XR goggles, whatever we're calling them. So
there's already like 1 million widget configurations already.
There aren't there?
Like,
there's still the classic widgets. They still work. The ones from on the notifications screen or whatever, not notification, the widget screen, whatever the heck that's called. Remember on the iPhone, you slide this side, and they used to be they were more interactive than the current branch of widgets. I think they still work. I'm not sure. And then you had these widgets we have now, and then these widgets come in different sizes.
I'm sure they're either be deprecated or re-architected in a different way. So I wouldn't be surprised if that gets re-architected in general.
So we're gonna have widgets all the way down, which is just a great narrative. I like it.
Widgets all the way down.
And so there's also other rumors that were coming up too about this that might be useful to talk about here at the latter part of this episode. But one thing I think that's on everybody's mind, if you guys saw Google I/O and you saw Microsoft, what is Microsoft's called their conference thing? Build. Right. If you saw them, it was generative AI all the way down, to use their phrase again. It was all wall to wall that, man. That's was like all. I saw some highlight reels anyway, and that's all that these were about. Let's put LLMs everywhere. So is Apple even going to mention AI? Are they going to be the outlier that is like, they're so confident and they so want their narrative to be about this product that they're not even going to mention it? Whether or not they have it is kind of a separate discussion. But I kind of think there's a good possibility that they will not mention it at all. Like they will just
unless
pretend.
They figure out like a way to collect their own data set that doesn't run into the problems that like Microsoft and OpenAI have run into with just like scraping large amounts of data without asking and just saying, here it is, it's a product. And now they have a bunch of legal problems because of that.
I mean, I think that Apple will have products based on this stuff at some point, if not this year. But
I expect them to just like have, curated their data more carefully, which just makes it takes a really long time to actually go through and make sure you're not just like randomly grabbing stuff from the internet that doesn't belong to you.
But my question is, do you think they will even mention the concept of AI?
Yeah, that's what I don't know whether they're there yet.
I think there's a good chance they won't even say it. The words will not come out of anyone's mouth. LLM will not be anywhere in the developer videos, or if they mention it at all, it'll be like tangentially, it'll be buried in some session halfway through the week, and it'll be called something else.
Well, honestly, here's the hilarious part. Like, Apple's been doing LLMs way before it became hip, right?
Have they been doing LLM stuff? I mean, I'm sure they have been doing stuff. Everybody has been.
I mean, they've been doing if we're talking about strictly like machine learning, that kind of thing. Like, machine learning is in photos, right? Like, if you type in food, it's already checking this.
Like
it's
Adobe,
already doing it.
Like Adobe's thing is using like generative stuff, but
if we're talking like the sticker thing, where like where like it takes your dog and like you make a sticker out of it, basically.
Right, and so like Adobe has their cool thing, which is integrating like the generative AI stuff with some of that other machine learning things and Apple has their own kind of version of that without the generative stuff. And they've been doing machine learning forever, but they have not, I think, they haven't had a product that is a generative AI product, which is either being able to have it generate text or generate images based on like things like textual description. That's what everybody's putting in their products right now. You can type something and I can make an image, or I can adjust some parameter and it can like regenerate the entire image, or I can generate text.
I mean, this is where we sort of have that interesting, like, I think Apple would come from the argument of like, we've been doing AI, not necessarily just generative AI, but we've been doing AI. We've been baked in AI in a lot of different of our products, whether it be, I mean, I know people make fun of it, but whether it be like to some degree Siri, whether it be the object detection services.
Siri is the dumbest AI I've ever
I get it, but like the point is like at the time it was. I mean, you can argue it was the Clippy of our era, but like the thing about it is that we've anthropomorphized it, but it was doing stuff, right? The other there are a lot of other opportunities that are there, and particularly with like the APIs, more specifically, like they give you ways to create your own data models. They give you ways in a variety of different types of data models. They give you tons of tools to do your own, to do all sorts of AI specific things. It's just not necessarily something where I don't think they're going to go out of their way to advertise AI, right?
Yeah, I think Apple's big on like making products, making features, and not necessarily focusing on the hip technology behind it. But I think this year, what my thing is, I think they just won't even. I don't think they're going to really have anything about this with this technology this year, or if they do, it's going to be very quiet. Which is going to be what I'm saying is it might be the case that the WWDC is very different from the other two big, technology companies, right? That had conferences this time of year, where it will not be about AI stuff, and it'll be about this headset and watch the tech media. Just completely switch narrative focus. Watch, they'll do it. Because if it comes out and Apple doesn't say anything about AI, they're all about this, they might mention that, but then they're just like, oh, look at this cool new headset. Because they're like lemmings.
Well, actually, the way I'm looking at it is it would probably be much more typical of like, they're saying, oh, they didn't talk about AI, so they missed the boat. And then might say maybe about 6 months or 3 to 6 months later, they're like, or like after maybe like 1 or 2 months after the mythical goggles come out, then they might change their narrative. Like, this is amazing, this is great, and then next thing you know, about a year or two later, they're like, okay, Apple was right, And then when generative AI hype dies down, whatever the new tech is, like, well, they're not into, if they're not into NFT 2.0, what are you doing, Apple?
Apple's certainly not going to join in on the hype train right now. I'd just be curious if they have. I just think it's going to be. I don't harp on it too much. I guess my question is like, has Apple been caught with thinking that this year is going to be all about AR and VR stuff, but in fact the technology narrative is AI and they just don't have a product, and so like, or is it that they just like, they're like, whatever, this is what we're doing, and we'll do the AI stuff, we're working on it, but we don't have anything to say about it right now. Like, I feel like they actually got caught by surprise a little bit, because it seemed like a lot of the industry did, except for people who are working in it all the time.
I mean, to their credit, at least from a marketing point of view, they never, they always say, oh, that's fine for now. We're not interested in that space until they are.
Yeah, until they are. Like we'll never have video on an iPod. I remember that one. That's another aging us or dating us.
It's a stylus. Yeah. What's a stylus?
Yeah, we don't. If you need to use a stylus, you failed. Just use your finger, man.
Yeah. But they're good at pivoting. The point is, like, if the narrative isn't going to fit what they're talking about, like, I actually do agree with you in the sense of, like,
I think I'm
in a sense of, like, I think the hardest part for Apple at the moment is like saying when they do keynotes, like just generally keynotes, like they would, especially like a product keynote, they always want to focus all the attention around product keynote per se, right?
Yeah, they want the whole press narrative, and they want the press narrative afterwards to be all about whatever they want it to be about. And I think they obviously want it to be about like goggles, I think, and they don't want to be mentioning AI stuff because they don't want to muddy the water. So I definitely think in the keynote they wouldn't mention it, or if they did, it would only be like some kind of backhanded thing as like lampshading it. Like I could see them maybe lampshading it. You know, the concept of like everybody has this on their mind. They know this is a thing, and if you don't mention it, it could be weirder than mentioning it just to get it out of the way. They might do that, but I think they probably won't. I think they're just going to be jam-packed full of stuff, and then the big chunk of it will be about the mythical goggles. And and we'll see what happens. And then maybe later in the week there'll be some stuff because people are going to ask. Developers are going to be on the Slack, and they're going to ask about this stuff if there's a hint of it. If there's a hint of it, because you can't ask about stuff that they haven't even mentioned because they won't answer it. They won't answer that stuff.
You can make a fair argument that they hint at it, but they also won't talk explicitly about it until the State of the Union.
That's what I mean. If they're going to talk about it all, they'll mention State of the Union. It'll be like updates to probably existing like SDKs or something like that, and it might be branded under Siri or something like that, and or Core ML. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm curious about how that's going to shake out because I was like these last two conferences, it's been like generative AI everywhere. Everybody has everything has a text box now. You can type random stuff in and things happen. That's what it is.
I mean, the hilarious part is like. I find it to be a little bizarre. Like, if you want to get good at taking advantage of generative AI, you really have to be good at like prompting the AI or continue to give the AI some context of like what you're looking for. So you have to start to get good about being very descriptive.
Like our friends at Clipdish.
Yes.
Get clipdish.com. Right? Is that what it's
right?
Getclipdish.com?
Getclipdish.com. Our non-sponsor sponsor, apparently.
Well, you said you wanted to make it a thing. So.
That is a thing. Shout out to you, Matt.
Yeah. Which I bring it up because I just used their I just used their app again, their AI chef feature that's in there. Mm-hmm. And I as a joke, I was like, I wrote a random thing in the Slack to him, and I was like, I have a scenario where I was like, I'm a single mom, and my fridge has like 3 eggs, like some pieces of asparagus, and like some like I had I have it written down somewhere, and I actually put it in the AI afterwards just to see if it would work, and it literally did. It like actually gave me an answer, and I'm gonna because they're
have you
they're
tested
good at,
this answer?
No, I did not.
Have you user tested this error
in real life? No, I did not. Oh, here it is. I have the image in front of me. I'm gonna read it to you. So here was my hypothetical. It said, I'm a mother of 3. I have 20 minutes before I go to work. My fridge contains 3 eggs, half a quart of chicken broth, some kale, half a pound of leftover egg noodles, and 11 asparagus stalks. I have a fully stocked spice rack. What can I make in 15 minutes that won't lead to food poisoning? That was my question.
That is a hilarious.
And so
hilarious
you wanted
request.
the answer?
Yeah.
The answer that Ask Chef gave was actually quite reasonable. It said, you can whip up a quick and easy egg drop soup using the chicken broth, eggs, and some of your spices. Beat the eggs in a bowl and set aside. Heat the broth in a pot on a high heat and bring to a boil. Slowly pour in the beaten eggs while continuously stirring the broth. Cook for another minute or so until the eggs are fully cooked and have floated to the surface. Add some salt, pepper, and other spices to your liking. You can also add in some chopped kale for extra nutrients. Serve the soup with some of the leftover egg noodles on top and a side of steamed asparagus. Quick and healthy meal in 15 minutes. So there you go. I don't know if it really would take 15 minutes, but I literally was like a joke. And then I said it in the Slack. I said, let's see what this thing actually replies. And my whole point about this is that, as you were saying, a lot using generative AI comes down to how you provide context. And at Clipdish, this app, they have really dialed in providing the context for the system to act to give you usable chef-like responses, and it's very impressive. Their prompt engineering is strong.
Did you make sure that you prefixed it with like a delicious meal?
No, I should have done that. Maybe there would have been no, but it did say you could spice it to your taste.
I guess fair.
I should no. This I was pretty impressed. I was like, that was hilarious. I have no idea if that would actually work. I mean, it's vaguely. I had in my mind that basically something like egg drop soup would come up because there's only so many things you can do with those ingredients. But honestly, I didn't really think that hard about it. I just thought of what's a grab bag of random stuff I've seen in Chrissy's fridge.
That's right.
In the past. And then I was like, and then I made up a scenario that wasn't real. And I like the fact that 11 asparagus stalks was still got incorporated.
And how much does this deliciously sounding app cost you?
This is free. I'm using still the free version right now.
Wow, that's with the free version. That's amazing. I know it's a subscription-based app.
I think so. I don't think I bought the subscription.
But it's reasonably priced, and you can get it on the iPhone and the iPad. So there you go.
I'm sure they'll have to charge at some point for the AI goodness, but last time I checked, it was still free to try. So
yes.
So get clipdish.com and experience the future of AI chef support apps or something. We're terrible at marketing. Don't hire us for marketing.
Yeah, don't hire us for marketing.
But no, it's a cool app and it's fun to play around with, and it's useful.
Although the last person we did this for, with he's doing pretty well for himself. So maybe
it's definitely all thanks to us and our marketing on our years of effort.
Not his hard work and diligence and his expertise and his.
We are the kingmakers of the iOS.
Oh, yeah, we're taking full credit. No. We're only doing our best. Oh, before we close out, I just want to get some. Do we have any specific things that we would want to see, technically speaking, from an API point of view, from a framework point of view, like nerdy point of view? A Swifty version of Core Data.
The nerdy grab bag portion here. So we've been talking about before SwiftData, Swifty Core, whatever we're going to call it. Please, Apple, make it the year finally where on the bingo card it's checked off as Swift Core Data. And what we mean by this is a complete replacement for Core Data that does not have any Objective-C legacy. I'm going to be specific here because I think some people don't understand what we mean when we say this. I want it so that I can take all my Swift-based objects and things like structs and enums as they are, be able to use them directly in Core Data. No translation to Objective-C compatible stuff. Okay, and then maybe you can also have it spit out, obviously, things like structs and stuff. So one of the issues we have with Core Data is there is sometimes some issue because it's reference-based, it's classes, and it's Objective-C specific things, so you can't always encode things directly into it, right? And you always have to get back classes, but what if you want to use value types? It makes it a little bit awkward sometimes to go back and forth. So it would be nice to have a Swift-based replacement for Core Data. We'll see. That's a big ask, and we ask every year for that. So that's mine.
Yes.
That's always going to be. That's going to be since I've started touching SwiftData. That I've started touching Core Data. My mind is already completely mixed up. So that's what I want, and I don't know if I want much. I want more Swift UI improvements, obviously.
Sure.
There's just still lots of UI kit versions of things that could be improved on the Swift UI versions aren't as good.
Yeah, agreed.
But
we're looking at you, ScrollViewReader.
ScrollViewReader.
Oh, man, it's so bottom. It's so basic. It's just
ScrollViewReader improvements. So what else in the grab bag here? Do we want?
Aaron, do you have anything specific you're looking forward to?
I don't know if there's anything that's realistic.
Doesn't matter.
Come
this
on,
is the grab
doesn't matter.
bag.
This is the wish list section. This is the portion. This is what we want.
What's on the bingo card for Aaron?
What's on the wish bingo card?
He's thinking.
Yeah.
So deliberative about the wish list.
All right, I'll go first, and then
you go first.
All right, so I want to see some improvements to PencilKit in some form or fashion because I don't know if I want to invest in working with that tech if I don't feel like it has much life to live beyond. I mean, I'm hoping because of the Final Cut integrations with PencilKit on the iPad. Maybe, like, for example, a very basic example is like there's no flood fill tool that's accessible to app developers. I know they have stuff like that in the Notes app, so I know it's available, like more complex features. Like
they have flood fill in the Notes app?
They do, I believe. It's either that or one of the other apps, but there's a way to do it. it's just one of those things where I just need I just want
Yeah,
I don't want to have to
PencilKit.
rebuild that or do it on my own. I mean, I can.
We're
but it's just
lazy,
one of those-
Apple. We don't
I know,
want to
we're
go.
lazy.
We don't want to recreate Photoshop tools. We want you to do it.
Yes, that's it. That's we don't want to create our own moat or do the
Yeah.
smart business thing. Let's see, what other things would I? Aaron, you got anything while I'm thinking?
But we have the SwiftData. We got ScrollView. We got PencilKit.
Yeah.
Did we talk about the CarPlay stuff?
No,
We did
CarPlay.
not.
CarPlay.
You
It's a
want-
great
you want-
because CarPlay. What about CarPlay?
Or just the next gen CarPlay they announced last year that maybe we'll see something of actually, but that's mostly for car companies to implement. So I don't
Except
know.
for GM Electric, apparently.
Yeah.
GM, the company that decided, we don't need people to buy our cars.
I get it, right? Like, honestly, like you're saying, here's an opportunity for a car company to out Apple, right?
Okay,
And granted, they're using Android, whatever, right? To do it.
You really think GM is going to design
Google.
a better system than Apple? Like, people love CarPlay. I don't even have CarPlay, and I love CarPlay. Like, it's so beloved that everybody else's use of it has through osmosis infected me, and mine now. I love it, even though I don't have access to it.
I mean, have you because my experience is much more
a few
than
times, but on, like, rentals.
Yeah, exactly. Like my experience is rentals, and I go, oh, this is quite nice, right?
Yeah,
but I mean, I get the hate for it in the sense like it's just a very like the touch interface is very like it takes a little bit to respond.
That's the car. That's the car companies having
100%,
crappy hardware. But the next gen CarPlay was supposed to be wasn't that the one that has like the big? It's supposed to be able, first of all, be able to do all kinds of other stuff like in the car systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like fully integrated with like the vehicle
Yeah.
like system, so it has like speed and
Right.
all that stuff that you would have on your dashboard.
So like a full OS for your car, kind of like maybe they were developing a car or something. Crazy talk, but Apple developing a car has never happened.
Here's I had long wished that they would just create their version of a Beetle, right? Because it would fit the ethos of an old school Apple of like, I don't care, Bonnie Blue or whatever, but just like a nice compact. They could start small. Is my point, right? Like they can eventually move to the pickup trucks or whatever, but like the goal would be like to start with something that's very easy to manufacture, or very
I think that was probably the issue, but I don't really know what the current status is of their car stuff. But I do know that CarPlay is super popular. So I think, and back to your GM thing, I think it's less about trying to out Apple in a design sense or something, and more about they want to sell subscriptions to features in their car, and they want to have a whole bunch of data about your driving habits and stuff, and that creeps me out.
So. I mean, it's the bean counters running the product show.
Dude, I don't even have my car insurance apps have this feature to give you better rates if you let them track your driving. Like I don't even do that because I don't want some company tracking my driving habits. Like it's weird to me. I don't know. I don't want that. I'm willing to not get the maximum benefit from the best price, I guess, on my insurance because I don't want that kind of invasion of my privacy.
But would you be okay if Apple did it? Well,
that's the thing. I don't think Apple would actually take the data and share it with anybody. If they did, I would not be okay with it. But if the operating system just
supposedly kept it locked in their system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm much more trusting of Apple's stuff. Like I use a health kit, and that's probably the most sensitive information that you could give to a company. But the way Apple implements stuff is generally, I'm pretty comfortable with how they implement things, with encryption, with local device processing, with like the way the iCloud sync works. At least based on what I've looked at and read and used, it seems to be a very privacy-centric suite of solutions. So I think that if Apple was going that route with the car stuff, that I would be okay with
their next random product is going to be Apple Insurance to go with their
there you go. Oh, so now I'm not sure. Would I be? Let's see. It'd be like, I don't know. That's a good question. Would I be okay with it? Because I'm not okay with it going in like my insurance company or going to GM or something. But would it be okay if it's somehow they got it to work, but they never actually know
they
it's
anonymize it and randomize it, and then send it
it's
to
like,
whoever
and so you get
with.
so maybe they only get like a score they get something completely opaque or something that just lets them calculate your insurance or something. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe it's all in the implementation details, and that's it is often is. It's in the implementation details about whether it'll work. And the thing that at least I expect Apple would explain how it works, and whereas I have no idea what they're doing with my if you turn it on for your insurance, I don't know where that data is going.
I mean, I feel like it's the slow boiling frog. It's just like slowly we just slowly give up more and more information until at some point it's just like, well, what is privacy, right? So,
well, what is privacy? I mean, we are on a podcast. We put on the internet, so I think we're already well down that road.
Fair enough.
But I think that the CarPlay thing is going to be interesting to see how it shakes out, because you do have that. GM is the only company I think so far has said that I'm aware of that said they're definitely going to not use it anymore.
Besides the people that were already like Tesla and
Tesla,
Rivian.
So it could be the case that with electric cars you could have much more variety of interfaces and more of a battleground for CarPlay, but for current cars that people actually can afford to buy, that run gas engines, I think CarPlay is kind of like a standard thing. I wouldn't buy I have an old car now, not as old as Coulter's though, and mine's like a GM product. Amazing it has lasted this long, and I want to get a new car, but CarPlay is like an actual necessity for me. Like, I'd prefer it to be wireless, but wired would work in a pinch. But I wouldn't buy a car without CarPlay or the ability to install a head unit that worked.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's what makes it funny is like it's honestly like it's like an Apple Watch in the sense where it's like you put it on. And it's usually you're using it for like maps or whatever, and then you're just trying to get your directions. You're just trying to go, but it's just such a subtle doesn't get in your way too much, and it actually enhances your experience because now you're not relying on your phone.
Yeah, maybe
your phone's actually charging while it's giving you the information. You can listen to your podcasts or anything that are coming from your phone, and if any app supports it, it's great. Like I can't, and then I don't have to listen to AM or FM radios with all their commercials and nonsense. It's just you get to enjoy the content you want to enjoy. So I think that from that standpoint, I think it's one of those like once you've had it, it's like tough to give it up. It's like a warm toilet seat.
CarPlay. It's like a warm toilet seat. That's definitely the marketing slogan that they should adopt. Oh my god!
On the developer side, I don't know what they're going to have for new APIs or new app types that'll work with this. This new generation of CarPlay that isn't just stuff that vehicles can integrate with.
I know. So
it's the manufacturer side.
Yeah, if it's a manufacturer API, like you're not going to probably be able to do anything about the speedometer and things like that, but will they have new
will you be able to access it as a developer?
Yeah.
Like, when your things to do when you're only your trip is this long or your battery is 50% charge.
It's gonna be tough because unless you're gonna have to write your software based on like the version of CarPlay too, or whatever, however they version it, because most cars won't have that feature. So if you're a third-party app developer, could you access that stuff? Or if you could, you'd have to gate it really heavily, and so it's even worth doing. It's tough. CarPlay is a really hard sell, and I was like, it's only the last few years before it's become like everyone has it now. It wasn't that long ago where you still weren't getting CarPlay, I think, on some like new model cars and some of the manufacturers. But now it seems ubiquitous. Like it's an option. I don't think I can think of a new car that's not like an electric car that doesn't have CarPlay and Android on it now. Even Toyota.
I guess just the big whether it's like how long it takes to roll out. Will they pass that stuff through? Where there'll be like a database like HealthKit of like all the car data.
Oh yeah, there you go, CarKit.
Yeah,
interesting.
But that would be cool. Yeah, CarPlay. I'm interested because no one really pays attention to CarPlay, but it's neat. And and like people who have more recent cars use it all the time, so it's probably a market that's worth at least investigating for some kinds of apps.
I'm just kind of curious, Aaron. What is your interest in CarPlay?
I don't know.
He drives a car.
Sure.
Whatever the latest platform they're working on. I am curious if they're going to eventually make their own car. So.
Yeah, we'll see. And there's all kinds of stuff that we didn't even talk about either that could be happening. Landscape mode, apparently. The Sherlocking of day one.
Well, definitely something's getting Sherlocked. I don't know what.
The journaling app is an idea.
As long as it's not a to-do list app.
They already have that.
We'd be Sherlocked before we're even Sherlocked.
That's what Reminders is, and it's also in Notes. They Sherlock their own apps.
Yeah, that's true.
Which way would you like to make task lists? In a note form or a to-do app form? And I don't know if there's so many things we could talk about, but we're already like over time, so should probably start wrapping it up.
Okay.
However,
okay,
I was going to say if you're interested in another version of this kind of preview podcast, but focused on how you can get the most out of attending WWDC virtually and in person, the latest episode of Under the Radar with Mark Arment and David Smith, episode I think 269, I think it is. It's about WWDC and how to get the most out of it, and I found it very informative. If you're going there in person, it had a section on that, on how to get the most out of the day you're there, and had a lot of advice about how to get the most out of the sessions and getting like how to set up devices and even mentioned where to get test devices from if you don't have them, and lots of good advice on there from some developers who have been in WWDC many times and have actually successful apps that they need to work on this summer. So that's
only 30 minutes.
And it's usually they changed it to usually under 30 minutes. So I thought it was hilarious.
Okay.
They're so exact about it. Well, because I think one time they went over, and so then they couldn't use it anymore. Couldn't say.
Oh my goodness.
But
they couldn't cut any of the fat.
It's a good. Anyway, they are not a sponsor or anything. We don't even really know them, but it's a good podcast.
I've met them.
We met them, but
we don't.
I'm not personal friends with either one of them.
Yes, fair.
So I just listened to it. I thought it was good, and hence I'm mentioning it because I think it'd be valuable to you, the audience of this podcast.
Very good.
And and this is finally that Philly Coca. Just to reiterate, join our Slack at phillycoca.org. There's a button for the Slack. We are going to be in there talking about the Keynote live when it's happening. Mm-hmm. So you can join in on the fun. It's always a good time. I may or may not have a Zoom link for that. We're still debating about that, but join the Slack and you'll know. Yeah. We'll definitely be in the Slack. I think we might just stick to the Slack because we don't want to. We've done the Zoom link before, but it can be distracting.
Yes. So, okay, well, that's all we have for today. You can learn more, again, at phillycoco.org. There you'll find the links to the Slack group, meetup schedule, and contact info. If you're feeling generous, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your podcast platform of choice is. And share us with all your developer friends. And one more thing. How do you tell HTML from HTML5?
I don't know how.
Try it out in Internet Explorer. Did it work? No? It's HTML5.
Well, can you even get Internet Explorer anymore?
I don't know. These are old jokes, I'm assuming.
Really old jokes.
All right.
HTML5. I'm like, what decade are we
talk about dating yourself.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Three database SQL walk into a NoSQL bar. A little while later, they walk out because they couldn't find a table.
Oh man!
Right. One last horrible one.
These ChatGPT ones or just
no, these are jokes? Like programming dad jokes. Apparently, nice. Google is not particularly great anymore. So, anyway, a programmer's wife once asked her husband, "Would you go to the shop to pick up a loaf of bread? And if they have eggs, get a dozen." Moments later, the programmer returns home with 12 loaves of bread. They had eggs, he said.
Oh, that's great. That is such a great programming joke. They had eggs. Oh my God, it doesn't. That's funny.
Till next time, good luck on your own developer journey. We will cheer for you always.
My fridge contains 3 eggs, half a quart of chicken broth, some kale, and 11 asparagus stalks.